Kakarotto.
Won't you stay and play with me? I'm having
Fucking
sleep.
scary games.
It's such a lovely day to have a
I'm enjoying. You're my only friend.
tea party. I'm having tea.
After seeing that, you know we're rating a scary game. Besides, you kind of read the title. Today, we are rating Siren, Bloodcurse. Scary game. Survival horror. It's a really good game. Now, for those who don't know much about the game, it is a part 2. There is another Siren. You know what? I won't even get into that. Go to the PlayStation Network, you download it. It's only $40. I mean, you can't go wrong with that. $40? I mean, hell, I've spent $40 on stuff that wasn't anywhere near as entertaining. Tijuana strip clubs. The game takes place where some shit happened in a village in Japan. Picks up where an American camera crew filming some show comes in to do like a filming of the occult and scary shit, and ghosts. Suffice it to say, it all goes wrong. They get there, and the game picks up there. It starts out a little bit slow. The game is available on PlayStation Network. It's 12 chapters. It's presented in chapter form. What's really good about the chapters is you can buy them individually, or actually like in sets of 4, I believe it is, something like that, or you can buy the whole game. Take my advice. Buy the whole game. Most of the footage I'm going to show you on this is early game footage, and the reason being is because one of the best things about this game is discovering the story. And you can go back and look at some stuff and figure out more about the story. There's like some online stuff you can go, and that's half the good stuff. So I recorded a whole bunch of stuff throughout this game. I'm going to go back to the earlier stuff and use that footage, trying to give away too much. Now, it's not an epic game. It's not a genre breaker, and it's not a genre starter, but it's definitely a good game. If you're looking for something to fill the time between, now and Resident Evil 5, definitely play this game because it's definitely a really good survival horror game. Like I said before, when you're downloading the episodes, it's really good because when you play the episodes, you can go back in and play select chapters in there, like the checkpoints. So if you have to go and do something, feed your dog, or if you have to go fight off some ninjas, what's up? You're covered. You can come back, pick up where you left off at. At the beginning of a lot of the episodes, it gives you highlights too. So if like you take off to fight ninjas or something, stab, 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 you can come back and you get a little bit of a refresher course. It's not your typical survival horror in that most of them nowadays are you got your zombies and then you got to shoot them in the head and you run. This one is going with that Japanese theme, pale face, Japanese dead people, undead, blood coming out of the eyes, blood coming out of the ears. It is my personal opinion that the undead, in anything make it better. Hell, I don't go to church, but if you had a zombie preaching, I'd fucking go. We'll start off with the controls. Controls are probably the gummiest thing in the game. And what I mean by that is they can feel a little sticky at times, and sometimes they feel a little bit too tight. Like when you're zoomed into first person mode, it's a little touchy. The controls are probably the weakest thing in the game. But the learning curve isn't too bad. After about an hour, once you get Sightjacking, get a gun, do things like that. Also, you don't run out of bullets. Hello? Best thing ever. The combat is pretty straightforward. You pick up your weapons. Some inflict more damage than others. You can hold the button down and do a really hard swing, or you can just flail away at it. You pretty much just want to do things one-on-one. If you get caught with multiple enemies, it usually always spells your death. This is where some of the controls get a little bit tedious. Like when you jar a door to keep somebody from coming in, you have to hold the button and then you have to shake the controller and it'll tell you to it. And that's probably the most frustrating thing, is when you get knocked down, it tells you to shake the controller for you to get back up. But I figured out how to keep this from becoming redundant. Don't fucking fall down. When you first play through, you'll see there's a bunch of tutorials constantly popping up throughout the game. Your D-pad has a lot of the command prompts in it. So you just hit a D-pad once and it brings up all the commands that you can use. And then you hit it again in direction for what you want to use. Yell, turn off flashlight, things like that. The graphics aren't game breaking, but I do like them. They go with the kind of a grainy effect. People understand they're trying to set a mood, and they do a good job with that. I kind of wish you could see better at certain times, but as you play the game more, you understand why they went that way. Its overall ambiance is very dark, very eerie, very creepy, and I love it because, I mean, I play the game with the goddamn lights off, and it's really creepy. If you turn off the light in the game, you really can't see much. Just one cutscene at the beginning, you have to run up and stealth attack this person, and I mean, I'll give it to you with the lights off, and then with the lights on. It's entirely two different things. They'll present you with a mission. During the missions, they'll give you little sub-missions as well that you have to get done to advance through the level. I like how the missions start out because I like to say the time, the name, and then they'll give you your objective. There's so many different characters in the game. Sometimes you're presented with, here you are, here's this weapon, get through here. Then sometimes it'll put you with, you gotta stealth all the way through this thing. Okay, now you're this little kid and you have no way to defend yourself. There's plenty of cutscenes in the game to keep it going, kind of like a TV show, you know, keep it like it's episodes. The real treat in the game is when you're at the beginning and it just kind of does it on its own, but when you have the ability to start doing it when you want, is Sightjacking. I think it's really innovative. You can see what somebody else is seeing, whether it's a human or whether it's one of the enemies. It's really cool. There's something to be said about when you're being chased by somebody and you can switch to Sightjacking and see how close the guy is to you and you're fucking running from him. When you Sightjack, you see it'll cut the screen in half for you. On the left side will be you, and on the right side is what you're viewing. And you can also lock onto a target, or you could just keep searching through. I don't want to give it all away. Play the game, and you'll see how much fun it is. Another thing is like when you're hiding somewhere. Your dude's chasing you, run in a place and hide. You Sightjack him, and just seeing them look where you're hiding. You're in there like, nobody hiding in here, please go away. More on the controls. You can crouch or walk depending on whether or not you want to sneak up on somebody. The story does a good job of flipping you back and forth and keeping you guessing. As far as the sound is concerned, I really like the soundtrack. I like I like the sound effects. The sound when you're Sightjacking somebody and you can hear it, their voice, is really, I love it. The sound effects are good. Now the graphics, they're nothing spectacular. The game really is detailed. I mean, when you walk around, you can see the level of detail they put in the design, and just how they're trying to create this feel of, you know, things broken and barren. Wish I could read Japanese. I could read what some of these signs say when you're, you know, walking around. On the controls, when you're aiming with your gun, it's you can go third person or you can go into first person, and it's easy as clicking in the R3. Aiming is not a huge issue, which is really good. The assisted aiming definitely comes in handy. When you start getting further into the game, you are definitely grateful for the assisted aiming. So here's my final rating on the game. The genre or the concept of it is obviously survival horror. There's really not much else you can say about it because that's what it is. It's a very creepy survival horror game. The sound, I personally really love the sound. I think it's excellent. The voiceovers are great. The Japanese, the English, loved it. It's just really creepy. Overall, has a really good tone. The learning curve's about an hour once the game lets you Sightjack and get a gun and just play some of the different people. It might seem longer than an hour because you're watching the cutscenes, but you're not really doing anything when that's happening, so, you know, there it is. Graphics, as I said before, not the greatest. Graphics are one of the weaker points. They're not awesome, but they really match the mood of the game, and I think that's what's important. I mean, who would want a really great-looking piece of shit? The replay value is moderate if you're into discovering the story. You'll find yourself many times going back in your archives to figure things out and trying to pick up clues. So you can see my final rating of the game is an 8.75. Not a bad rating, especially considering that the game is $40 and it's downloaded on the PlayStation Network. I recommend this to anybody who's a survival horror fan. The controls might frustrate you a little bit here and there, and you know, if you get knocked down a lot. But aside from that, go play the game. This has been another Team Z game rating for you. Remember, I don't speak for us all, but I'm the one talking, biatch.